Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Angry Jay here again, continuing my tour through Quebec. As I, in the previous video, talked about the Quebec Nordiques and their team breakdown. In this video I want to talk about the Montreal Canadiens and their team breakdown. And Montreal Canadiens, just jumping right into this, we're a 48, 30, and 6 team in the 1992-93 season for a total of 102 points. They finished third in the Adams division, but that did not slow them down, as they went all the way to the Cup and won the Cup against the LA Kings. En route, the Montreal Canadiens won 10 overtime games in that playoff run, the most in NHL history. So they definitely had a good year in real life, and they're pretty good in '94 too. So getting right into that and why they're good in '94. First off, their home ice advantage is high, so they're going to get a lot of bonuses when playing at the Montreal Forum. Opponents are going to definitely be on their heels, and you're going to take advantage of that, hopefully, because of those extra bonuses that your already skilled players are going to have. And then when you take them out of the Montreal Forum, they're only going to have an average disadvantage, so they're going to be a little shaky on the road at times, but overall, they should be better than some other teams out there for sure. I would classify Montreal as a Tier 1 team, but they're kind of the borderline Tier 1, Tier 2 team. The thing about that keeps Montreal in Tier 1, I would think, is that a lot of their better matchups are in Tier 1, and they have a big name attached to them. So you say Montreal in a hockey matchup, especially from the 90s, people are going to want to pick Montreal in a lot of cases. So I think they're definitely worthy of that as well, because they're very kind to beginners in that they have a really strong goalie, but they're also very good to veteran players, as they have a lot of matchups that they can take advantage of, and a lot of personnel that they can use in different matchups. So I think some of their better matchups are against Chicago and Buffalo. You could also use them against Detroit and Vancouver, although that's a little bit more risky depending on your opponent. And then you can take them down into Tier 2, obviously, but if you take them into Tier 2 against, say, Winnipeg, LA, Calgary, Boston, you're probably baiting your opponent more often than not. So you need to be comfortable playing against Montreal as well as playing with them, especially if you pick those Tier 2 teams in matchups with Montreal, as Montreal may very well get picked, as opposed to being left for you in a tournament play. So some reasons why you might want to pick Montreal in a matchup: they have the elite goaltender, Patrick Roy. He is one of the best, certainly top 2, perhaps top 1 goalie in the game. He will win you games all by himself, bar none, even against some of the more skilled players you may run into. He is very capable of keeping you in the game. So that is a big, huge strength for Montreal. Another strength that they have is puck possession. They have some really good stick handlers on this team. Denis Savard, Vincent Damphousse. They are elite stick handlers, and they possess the puck very well, and the rest of the team is also very adept at this. So use that puck possession to your advantage. They also have some skilled weight buggers. So Montreal is a lighter team, generally speaking. They have some heavier players that do matter, but you could really run a line out there that's just, weight bug check heavy, but also very skilled, and it'll keep you in the game offensively. So if you go down by a couple of goals, you don't have to change up everything. You can just keep those guys out there, as they're still plenty skilled to score goals with. Montreal also great on the counterattack. They have a great goalie, so they're going to make more saves more often, which means there's more opportunities to spring the play up into the opponent's ice when they have a lot of players committed in your zone. So take advantage of Patrick Roy's extra save. Take advantage of your good defensive players to move the puck and try and create 3-on-2s and 2-on-1s. Whereas because Montreal doesn't have great team speed to get pure breakaways, they can hopefully get some odd man situations by just being a better position overall. And lastly, Montreal has a lot of team chemistry. The players just feed off each other very well. They complement each other. They have varying skill sets, but they also can just load up on a certain skill and really overwhelm an opponent in certain factors of the game. So use this team chemistry to your advantage, and Montreal doesn't have elite players, but when you put them all together, they're an elite team. So you need to take advantage of that if you want to play these Tier 1 matchups. Reasons why you might want to try and bait your opponent into Montreal. Montreal is very short on shot power. You put my suggested starting lineup out there, you're not going to have a player of over 3 shot power, except for maybe your defenseman. But you're not going to shoot very often with your defenseman, so what that means is you're going to be limited to scoring from inside the face-off circles if you want to score on a consistent basis. Anything outside of that, it's going to be a little bit tough, especially against a good goalie like, say, Patrick Wall. Not Patrick Wall. You can't play against him. Ed Belfour or Grant Fuhrer. Those are two guys that can really shut the door and might give Montreal some problems if you can't get inside the face-off circles consistently. Montreal is also light on top-end talent in terms of players with a great skill set across the board. In Tier 1, every team has a guy like this. Buffalo has McGillney, Chicago has Roenick, Detroit has Yzerman, Ciarelli, Fedorov, on and on and on. Montreal doesn't have a guy like that. They also don't have elite skaters. What they have is some nice lightweight players with some high-end skills, but in terms of their entire skill set, it's not elite. They'll have a great skills supported by some decent skills along with that one great skill. And we'll go over who those players are and what that elite skill is shortly. And defensively, in terms of the players specifically that are defensemen, they are merely good, not great. They're not as great as, say, Peter Svoboda, Chris Chelios, Paul Coffey, Ray Bourque, Don Sweeney, any of those guys. But they're definitely better than guys that Quebec ices. So Montreal's kind of in that middle ground of being a little bit better than just average, but they're certainly not elite. But team defensively, they're great. But the actual guys on defense, Matthew Schneider, Eric Desjardins, JJ Daniel, are just good. They're not all-star caliber players. So, speaking of their players, let's dive right in here with their first suggested line. I would suggest putting Vincent Damphousse at left wing, Stéphane Lebeau at the center, and Denis Savard supporting them on the right. First off, Vincent Damphousse. He is a 4-4 skater, 4 agility, 4 speed, and this is out of 6. So 6 obviously being the best rating that you can have. So Damphousse is pretty decent in that, right? His offensive awareness is 4, which is also nice, but his shot power and shot accuracy are a little low at 3 each. His pass accuracy is 4, but where he really comes in nicely is that 5 stick handling. So Vincent Damphousse is that first example of a player with a elite skill and just a nice skill set to support that elite skill. And at 188 pounds, Damphousse is more of a weight-bugged guy, but not excessively so. And 2 checking, he's not really going to CB anybody or AI check anybody. But what Vincent Damphousse does is he is a great player to have on the left wing to dangle with, because not only can he create a pass, create space on the wing, and help sort of set up one-timers and set up the play, but he can also cut inside into the slot because his high stick handling will allow him to keep the puck on his stick more often when he's being harassed by defenders. So don't be afraid to go into the center of the ice with Damphousse. This will help bring his shot power and shot accuracies into places where he can be more successful with them. Whereas if you just keep him out on the wing, he's not going to score a whole lot of goals for you. You take him inside, you show a couple different looks with him, he's going to help you score a few more goals than you might anticipate. And with Montreal's very balanced attack, every extra goal you can get is definitely welcomed. But Stéphane Lebeau here, he is going to be your main goal scorer. If you do have one guy you focus on, it's probably going to be him. He is a 4-4 skater, a right-handed shot with 4 offensive awareness. A little low for your center position, but Montreal doesn't have a guy with 5 offensive awareness, so 4 is the best you're going to get regardless. His shot power is a little low at 3, but that 5 shot accuracy is really nice and will help him cash in on any chance that he does put on net from in close. His pass accuracy is very average at 3, and his stick handling is okay at 4. He's not a great one-on-one type center where you just slash through defenses. He's more of a one-time guy. And at 180 pounds, he's a decent weight bug checker, although not elite, but he's still pretty good and should definitely be used in that capacity to checking overall. So he's not going to be an AI checker by any means, but this is your main sniper. He has the highest shot accuracy on the team, and if you want a low weight center, this is definitely your best bet by a mile, as there is no other player that compares to him shooting wise in his weight class on this team. Lastly, we have the creator of the spin move himself, Denis Savard. He's got 5 agility, 4 speed, offensive awareness of 4. His shot power is just like Damphouse's, 3 power, 3 accuracy, pass accuracy of 4, and his stick handling is 5. So he's essentially a super powered Vincent Damphousse. He's got better agility, and he's also a little bit lighter, which means he's going to be able to avoid weight bug checks a little bit better. But he will be CB checkable even more. But with 5 agility and lightweight, he's really going to be a dream to handle with. He's going to be great in tight, in the wing, in the slot, on defense. He's just going to be a force when it comes to technical skating. He can just really shadow opponents on defense, and on offense he's very technical. He can set up a play. He can create a play. He can make his own play with, people leave him unattended. So he's definitely a weapon you need to have on the ice, regardless of who else is on the ice. I think Savard is a must start, whereas Danfus and LeBeau, you can kind of play with them a little bit in terms of them being on the bench or on the ice. But Savard, he is your number 1 forward, and he's your best overall player. So he has to be on the ice, regardless of what position you put him at. I don't care. He just needs to be out there. I prefer him on his right because he's got better deke opportunities on that side of the ice. But regardless, keep Savard on the ice. Bottom line. So the second different look that you might want to have with Montreal is Kirk Muller at center. So what does Kirk Muller bring to the table? Well, he's largely the same to a lot of these other players, except for a couple key differences. Skating-wise, it's not one of those differences. He's a 4-4 skater, 4 offensive awareness, 4 defensive awareness, 4 shot power, 4 shot accuracy, 4 passing, 4 stick handling, 4 everything. He's a 4 everything, but he's also a 4 checker. He's got 212 pounds. He's a CB monster, especially in his weight class, where he can take people out that you might not expect, because that 4 checking with 4-4 skating is pretty nice, if I may say so myself. So he's not as much of a deadeye as Stéphane LeBeau, but he is a different look on this team. If you want to have a CB presence in your forward ranks, Kirk Muller is definitely the place to start with, as he is the best option there. So I really think that these 4 players should somehow make up a line for you, regardless of anything else, regardless of anybody else, because the rest of the players, they're nice bench pieces. But these 4 guys, I think, are heads and shoulders above everybody else on this roster. But with that said, let's talk about some other guys on this roster, just for discussion's sake. We have Brian Bellows, who's largely the same as Kirk Muller. 4 speed, 4 agility, 4 awareness, 4 skills across the board. He's a little bit lighter, but he's also a 2 checker, not anywhere near the CB force that Muller is. There's no real reason to play Bellows over Muller. Muller is essentially the same player, but even better. So if you lose Muller and you got to have a little bit heavier guy out there that does essentially the same stuff, but just not as good on defense, Bellows is definitely the guy to go to. Who else do we have here? We have Gary Lehman is another option. He is a pure weight bug guy who's also very evenly distributed skill-wise. He's got 4 skating, speed, and agility, 3s here across the board, awareness, shot power, shot accuracy, all down the line. He's a weight bug player, so if you lose Savard or if you lose LeBeau and you want another guy's 180 pounds, Lehman's a good place to start, as he is the most balanced of everybody else on this roster in the weight bug class. Another player that you can go use that's also fairly light is Guy Carbonneau, but he definitely has his strengths and weaknesses, which are much more pronounced. He is a 4 agility skater, 3 speed, so he's a little bit slower. He's 2 offensive awareness, 4 defensive awareness, so he's probably going to be playing much more on the defensive side. You might not get much of him on the offensive side of the ice, filling out spots for one-timers or what have you. But even if he did, he's got a 2 shot power, 1 shot accuracy, which is pathetic. It's defenseman caliber. But his pass accuracy and his stick handling are really nice. He's a decent weight bug checker, although not especially great at it. And he's a decent CB checker for whatever that's worth. He could probably take down Roenick and Joey Juneau and guys of that ilk pretty regularly. But, Carbonneau, I personally like him, but I would probably prefer Lehman's straight across the board ability than Carbonneau's obvious weak shot ratings and his little bit slower speed. Another option to consider is John LeClair. So you really need a CB guy if you think John LeClair is an option, because say you lose Bellows to an injury and Muller's in the box or he's injured too, and you just have to have a CB check guy. LeClair's really your only other option on this roster. He's got 3 agility, 4 speed. His shot power, shot accuracy is a 3. Can't really pass the puck with a 2, and his stick handling is a 3. Nothing impressive there, but he's huge. Look at that weight, 228 pounds, 3 checking. He's going to be pretty okay, especially at 4 speed. So if you get him going in the right direction, you don't have to move him left or right too much. He's going to lay people out. But there's no skills here that are really, incredible. I mean, he's got 4 speed. That's probably his best skill to go along with the CB checking. So, if you really get into a desperate situation and you have to have a CB check guy, he's there. And then if you really start scraping the bottom of the barrel for weight bug options, you got Mike Keane. He's a 3 agility, 4 speed skater. His skills don't really come into play. He's got 3 shot accuracy, 3 pass accuracy are his best ones, and 180 pounds. He's a good weight bug checker. So if you get in a situation where you have to have a weight bug checker and you're running out of them, Keane's another perfectly acceptable option. I mean, Montreal is blessed with a lot of forward depth. They go 3-4 lines deep. If you want to play a line change game, Montreal is a pretty good place to go. So, moving on to the defense, you got Matt Schneider here. He's probably your best overall defenseman. He's got 3 agility, 4 speed. He's the only 4-speed defenseman on the team, so he's going to be the guy that probably runs down breakaways the most efficiently. Left-handed shot. He was a great offensive defenseman in his time, but not so much in '94 apparently, with only 3 shot power, 2 shot accuracy. But his passing and stick handling coming at 4. Still those are pretty nice ratings to have from the back line. And at 196 and 3 checking, he's not really a weight bug checker. He's not really a CB checker. He's more of a poke check guy. He's a positional player. And if you happen to know that you're going against Theo Fleury, or if you're trying to hit Jeremy Roenick or Cam Neely, you can weight bug check or CB check, and whatever's appropriate to that situation. But a lot of the time, poke check with Matt Schneider is your best bet. His most balanced defensive partner, I think, is Eric Desjardins. Montreal typically has a lot of weight bug forwards, so having a good CB presence on the back line, I think, is a very nice thing to have. Desjardins got 4 agility, which is nice, 3 speed, so that should be a good mobile defenseman there for you. He's got 4 defensive corners, 3 shot power, 2 shot accuracy. You're not going to use those a whole lot, to be honest. The 3 pass accuracy is okay. The 4 stick handling is nice. And at 212 pounds and 4 checking, he's essentially another Kirk Muller out there. He's going to be able to lay some people out. He's going to be really good on defense. He's got that 4 agility, which should help him deal with those quicker forwards that he might come across. So I really think Desjardins is your best bet for a balanced defensive pairing. But that goes against some other people's thinking, as a lot of people do like J.J. Daniel, and for good reason. He's a very solid defenseman. He's got 4 agility and 3 speed, so he's the same thing as Desjardins. 4 shot power, 2 shot accuracy, which are really nice, but the 2 pass accuracy is really where his one weakness comes in. 3 stick handling is fine, and at 188 pounds, he's more of a weight bug guy, but he's kind of in that middle range where, unless he's going up against some really heavy players, he's not really much of a physical player. A lot of people like him because he's a little bit lighter than Desjardins with the same skating ratings, so he's going to be a better skater because the lower weight means you stop faster, you start faster, you turn better. Just everything's a little bit smoother with that. But I really don't like that pass rating. He throws some really floaty passes. If you can overcome that, he's still a good defenseman. He's one definitely worth icing. You just have to be able to overcome that pass rating. Another guy that you can use who's even more of a weight bug checker is Patrice Brisebois, longtime Montreal Canadian. He has 3 agility, 3 speed, 3 shot power, 2 accuracy. His passing is like Daniel's, only a 2. His stick handling is a 3. But at 180 pounds, he's going to be able to weight bug check some people, much more so than anybody else on this defensive corps. He's the lightest defenseman that they have. So if you want the best weight bug lineup, Brisebois should probably be thrown out there, as he's a very competent defenseman. In terms of other options on this blue line, there aren't really a lot. Everybody else is pretty, you need to stay away from. Kevin Haller will be a default sub in some cases. I forget which side he comes in on. Say there's a penalty, for instance, he will come in on some of those penalties. You need to remove him from the ice immediately and try and get a different defenseman out there if you can. Whether it's Brisebois or Daniel or whoever's on your bench, you should be bringing them in. If you just start running out of options for whatever reason, Rob Ramage could be your 5th guy. He's got 3 agility, 2 speed. The rest of his ratings are just fine. I mean, the pass accuracy is a 3, the stick handling is a 3. But the nice thing is he's a 212 pounder with 4 checking, so he's a good CB checker, provided you can get him moving towards the player. He's probably not going to be very good against guys like Jeremy Roenick or Steve Yzerman, so you really got to be careful who you throw him out there against. But say you're playing Boston in a matchup, and Boston's not excessively fast, he might be okay there. But he's really limited, and the rest of Montreal's defense is even more limited. So just stay away from them if you can, especially that default sub that I mentioned, Kevin Haller. Lastly, in net, Patrick Waugh is a monster in this game. He's got 6 agility. He's got 6 puck control. His stick ratings are 5 each, and his glove ratings are pristine at 6. He will really snap the puck out of the air with his glove. He loves to flash that leather with a palm. And at 6 weight, he's a decent enough manual goalie. I mean, 6 agility, 6 weight. That's a pretty good combination, I think. And he's also going to be very resilient to the ram tactic. A lot of mobile goalies like Soderstrom and Terreri, they're very light, but they're not as agile as Waugh. So they're going to have a tougher time keeping the puck out of the net when opposing forwards just run them over and ram them into the back of the net. Patrick Waugh is going to be a little bit better able to handle that because he is a heavier goalie. The heavier the goalie you are, the more resistant you become to the ram tactic. So Patrick Waugh, just all across the board, fantastic AI mode, manual mode. He can do it all. He's very, very skilled goaltender and certainly worthy of being a top 2 goalie in this game. So, reviewing now, Montreal. Play lockdown defense with Montreal. They have weight bug checkers, they have CB checkers. They can play both of them. They can just focus on one thing. They also have a great goalie. So, use those to your advantage. Lock the other team down. Make everything difficult for them. As far as Waugh goes, which we just talked about, let him dominate an auto if you can. Just focus more on putting your defense in the right position, making plays with your stick, making plays physically, because Waugh's going to be pretay good. The chances are you might move him out of position to make a save if you try to use goalie control too often. So unless something's like, unless it's like a crease cut or a really obvious one-timer that your goalie's just not going to stop, aside from that, you can pretty much just leave him alone, and he's going to do a lot of work for you. With Montreal on offense, you want to counterattack. So Waugh makes a big save, you want to get those outlet passes to your defensemen or to your forwards and just start moving the puck up the ice, try and create 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, any odd man situation you can, because teams are going to be devoting their offensive players to try and beat Waugh. You can't just beat Waugh on random stuff a lot of the time. You have to actually devote 2 or 3 players to the attack, maybe a defenseman, and this is your time to take advantage of that when you have the puck and into your defensive zone, and you just need to move it out and try and get those plays going. Try and move the puck quickly, and this is further implemented by just possessing the puck in general on offense. Montreal's great on defense, but you know what? They're even better on defense when they have the puck because the other team can't score. So possess the puck on offense, make the other team work, make them make mistakes, have them allow Montreal to get into those scoring areas where they're more prolific, which is inside the face-off circles. And this again goes to another point. Just be patient overall. Limit your risks. You have Patrick Waugh in net. Your opponent's going to be the one to have to take more risks on offense. So let them take those risks and just let them work themselves into the corner and let them work themselves into the slot where there's 3 defensemen just waiting to knock the puck off their stick, or just take things away from them. Make them make mistakes. Be patient. Offense, defense, with your goalie. If you're being swarmed and you have the puck with goalie control, don't feel like you just have to get it out just to get it out. To get it off your stick and move it up the ice. Take a face-off if you want. I mean, make the other team make the mistake. You be patient. You don't have to do anything crazy with Montreal. They're just a good team overall. It's better if you don't do anything crazy with them. And this goes to the next point of just play hockey. 94 can be a very arcadey game at times. You get a team like Buffalo who can just stick handle through everybody and skate all over the ice. It's really easy to just say, I'm going to do whatever I want and play hockey however I want. With Montreal, you need to play like actual hockey. You need to be a little bit more X and O's about it. You need to be a little bit more thoughtful about what you're doing. You need to plan ahead. You need to just wait for that moment to strike. You need to work your outlet passes and move the pucks up the ice in a more cohesive fashion rather than just bombing a pass to some guy and hoping for a breakaway chance because you're just so much faster than everybody else. Just play hockey. You're going to find a lot more success with Montreal, the less you do with them, essentially. So I think that pretty much draws up Montreal pretty well. So now I'm going to go into one of their matchups against Detroit, this is a tier 1 matchup where Montreal, I think, does pretty well in this matchup because they have a great goalie. So it does nullify a lot of Detroit's elite shooting because Yzerman and Cicerelli and Fedorov are all pretty good shooters. But Patrick Roy is kind of the trump card for Montreal. He mitigates a lot of what they do, and as long as you keep him from having to face just these obvious goal scoring chances, it's going to slow Detroit down pretty effectively. And this is a great team to counter against because Cheveldae is not a great goalie. He is a decent goalie. So if you get him into some situations where he's exposed, say 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, where he's got to make some decisions with whether to guard the shooter, whether to guard the guy that could be passed the puck to, he's going to have trouble in AI mode. He's also not especially good in manual goalie control. So if you can expose Detroit's defense and their goaltending in this matchup, you're going to have a lot of success. I've been met Detroit before in matchups where I go against Montreal, and I'm going against a guy that he's got them clicking on defense, and it can be a real slog trying to score goals on Montreal in this matchup. So that's why I think this is a matchup that they do well in, that they can be successful in, and I don't know if I would necessarily call this matchup if I was a lower skilled player going against someone higher skilled, because you don't generally want to give a team Detroit if you can handle it, help it, because Detroit is the most skilled offensive team. So one team you might want to consider giving your opponent in that situation is Vancouver, since their offensive skill isn't as good. The thing about Vancouver is that they're very fast, but they might be so fast and that they have some issues getting those technical plays in which to score on Waugh with. Because Waugh, you really have to set up your offense in a fashion to where you can beat him. You can't really beat him with just slap shots and a bunch of floaters from in tight, because he's going to shut a lot of that down. And Vancouver doesn't have the shot power or the shot accuracy to really just bully their way into goals against Montreal. So I think Vancouver, if you want to give a player with more skill Vancouver so you can get Montreal or something like that, I think that would be a better decision than giving them Detroit, because Detroit is just a better team overall. They're a little bit more balanced. Their scoring attack is more balanced because they have 3 forwards that can just do a lot of damage with the puck, whereas Vancouver is mostly Pavel Bure with really nice support players like Jeff Courtnall and Cliff Ronning. They're not these amazing goal scorers in their own right. So I think that's the high-powered matchup you want to go with if you want to have Montreal on your side. I think Buffalo and Chicago are a little bit more balanced matchup-wise, especially Chicago, because if anybody's going to shut down Roenick, it's going to be Waugh. And Montreal can throw out Kirk Muller, they can throw out Desjardins and Matt Schneider, and they're going to be good enough checkers to CB check Roenick. So Roenick's going to have to play a pretty honest game, and if you can get Roenick on his back and have him lose the puck, they just lost their best defensive player on the back check. So your counterattack should be easier in those cases with Montreal, because Roenick's not in the play anymore. That's their best defensive forward. You take him out, you've done a huge disservice to Chicago and their counterattack defense. So that's something that I would definitely be wanting to be trying to do, is just limit what Roenick can do, put him on his back, and then just do your work against Chicago from there. And it's kind of the same story with Buffalo, whereas Roenick, you need CB checkers. With McGillney, you can do either. With Montreal, you can throw out Muller and Desjardins if you want, or you could throw out Brisebois and Stéphane Lebeau and Gary Leeman, and you could put 4 guys with 180-pound weight that can still play pretty decent hockey, and they're going to be able to weight bug check McGillney pretty regularly, and they could frustrate him, and you're going to make Buffalo beat you with guys like Howard, Chuck, and LaFontaine, who aren't quite as consistent and dynamic as McGillney. So if you can take away Buffalo's best weapon, you've already done a lot of damage to what they're trying to do. And again, they're another team you can counter, because if you take down McGillney, or say you got your weight bug or your CB defensive lineup out there, you got Kirk Muller, Eric Desjardins, you take down LaFontaine or McGillney with one of those guys, and you're going to be able to counter really well, because one of Buffalo's weaknesses is that they don't have a very good second defenseman. They're kind of weak there. So you're counterattacking against a team that already has one weak link on defense. And then if you take away one of their better defensive forwards also, that's a huge help. That's just going to make things a whole lot easier for Montreal. And that's why I think Montreal plays best as a Tier 1 matchup. Because they can counter these Tier 1 teams pretty well. And they're clearly the least skilled of them all, but they're also the most frustrating to play against, except for maybe Chicago. But Chicago, they're more of a one-trick pony on offense. They're more just Jeremy Roenick and whatever can maybe help him in a certain game. Or your opponent may try and force-feed Jeremy Roenick all game because he's obviously the best player. Whereas Montreal, you got to use everybody. They can all stick handle pretty well. They're all decent skaters. They all have their skills that are useful to make a line that can be really annoying to play against. So I think that's something that should certainly be considered when trying to classify Montreal on a tier. Is they're just frustrating to play against for any team of any caliber. So Tier 1, I think, is where they do best. And you take them into Tier 2. A lot of people are going to pick Montreal over the Tier 2 teams, and their defense will frustrate even more against those teams because they don't have quite as much high-end talent as the Tier 1 teams, obviously, which is why they're not Tier 1, probably, because their offense just isn't as good as those Tier 1 teams. So Montreal is just a frustrating team to go against, and they should be used as such. Frustrate those teams and have them make mistakes, and hopefully you can take advantage of them. Which I told myself after the last game that I was going to do better in the matchup after the team breakdown, because the last game with Quebec I only won 7-2 against Calgary, and I thought that was pretty pathetic. So trying to do a little bit better here with Montreal against Detroit. Seems to be going pretty okay so far. You'll just notice that a lot of what they do is they skate really well. Montreal does. You can really wiggle with them on the wing, especially guys like Denis Savard and Vincent Danfus. They're just that's their strength, stick handling, and then creating that space to make a good pass. And Muller's been on target this game. He's their best shooter from far range, so he gives Montreal a little bit more dynamic ability from different areas of the offensive zone than Stéphane Lebeau does. Stéphane Lebeau is a very consistent shooter, but that lack of shot power can make life a little bit harder than it needs to be in a lot of cases. But I just really like the way Montreal skates with the puck and creates space and just kind of waits for the defense to give them goals, because they're such a technical team to play with on offense. I was trying to pass it to Danfus there, but I got bodied. Yeah, Muller's on it today. He looks good. Wanted to go upper 90 with that puck, and he just put it right there. So, just about wrapping up here in this game. Try and get to 15 if I can. But, Detroit's trying to make it respectable a little bit. Let's see, I might get one more chance if I'm lucky. Nope, that's going to go to the goalie. Yeah, I'm not going to get to 15. Anyways, I felt like I did a lot better this game. I felt like I did better showing what makes Montreal. Montreal is just a really frustrating team to play against. Good with the puck. Great goalie, Patrick Roy, #1 star. He got a lot of those in his day. He carried Montreal to a couple cups that maybe they shouldn't have won. Maybe they didn't have the team to win it with, but he certainly covered up any warts that they may have had, especially in '93, 10 overtime games that they won that year. That's some pretty clutch stuff. Not only winning those games, but also the goaltending involved. So that's Montreal. Hopefully you learn something about them and feel more comfortable going against them in tournaments and using them, and just feeling more confident moving forward. So that said, next episode is going to be showing you Buffalo and what they're made of. So they're going to be a pretty exciting team to talk about. I think they're definitely another tier 1 team, and those are always exciting to talk about, certainly much more so than tier 6s. So hopefully when I see you guys then, you'll be around. And as for this video, if you liked it, feel free to leave a like or dislike it. If you didn't like it, leave a message. Just speak up if you want to be heard, and I'll probably be more than happy to return your comment. And I just want to see people keep contributing and viewing these videos. So anything we can do to help that, I really like to see happen. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.